Jerry.
And I copy all the communications between us, between the council, between the library, or ICC, Dave, Adam, or some combination thereof. And he said that's not sufficient. And the law is completely on my side. They're gonna say this, they're gonna say this. Yes. That's right.
There's no comment other than you gave us a lot.
But it did. And Adam, I think, has been in the mode of just handing them over. Oh, I'd like to get a couple of the signs up. We can do that today.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's do that then. I'm just concerned about how to manage those. Western Fire. Those are my two concerns. If you have any more than that. Yes. Yeah.
And so, the last couple of weeks, I've been, what's his name?
Oh, yeah. Joel.
No, not Joel. Alex.
Oh, that was Stibby.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, so he's been parking on this side. And it's just, it's just a recess.
The planning commission, did you hear, wants to make that two lanes. What, Manor Manager again? Sounds like a great idea to me.
All right, you guys ready? We call it to order. Please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Oh, we don't have microphones, so I'll try to enunciate. Thank you for coming to this public safety meeting. I apologize for doing it yesterday. I meant to do it last week and time got away from me. I did ask these gentlemen at the last city council meeting if today was a good day, and chief. So that's my fault, and I apologize. There is public comment at the end. I will just let you know, this is gonna go before full council. We're all in agreement to send it to full council. So you're welcome to speak here, but your words are gonna be better offered in front of the full council, because you'll just have to repeat it. So, for letter A, traffic and safety, Chief, do you have anything like about, and I know I didn't ask you before, but should have, West Street and Fayette, or what was the one that you said, Josh?
West and Fayette, as well as Charles and Howard.
About expanding the traffic control there, maybe having 4 ways.
We've been in discussions for a while for West and Fayette, of how to do traffic control that complies with regulations and reduces accidents at that intersection. Based on the accident number alone, it doesn't meet the requirements for a four-way stop, but there's other criteria we can look at. I've had a couple of conversations with the traffic engineer, because one thing that we have to be conscious of is northbound west is uphill. So if they're stopping there when the roads are not in perfect condition, can they get going again, or are we creating a problem there? But the discussion continues about turning that into a four-way stop, which would take, what we talked about is, some of the new traffic control signs have like LED lights around them, might be solar panel, something to draw people's attention once it's turned to a four-way stop, more than just a single advanced warning sign, because if, I gotta tell you, I can't tell you how many years ago or decades they changed Manning Street to two-way, and I've been a cop so long, when I see a car coming at me, I still wanna pull it over. So I know from that, you wanna call it muscle memory or what, just putting a stop sign with one advanced warning sign is not gonna be efficient enough. So we gotta make sure whatever we do or try is not creating problem.
There's no flashing lights at that one like there is at Hillsdale.
Hillsdale and Fayette has.
Would that be a good maybe place to start?
The accidents, when I reviewed them, are more related to traffic actually stopping at the stop signs and then taking off, just not seeing the oncoming traffic north or south, or not paying attention. They are stopping, but I would think if we do a four-way stop, if feasible, the city can do it, or if it's allowed there, I think a flashing signal also. We gotta do more than just a single advanced warning sign. Because in my mind, if we create one incident where somebody gets hurt, then we didn't do it right. So, but we have been in continuing discussions about that. And the traffic engineer seems to think that with proper road maintenance, that the hill probably would not be an issue, but we're gonna have to try it to see.
Okay.
So, Jason was looking into the availability of the signs because of supply chain. At one time, they were a long ways out from being able to get adequate, what we felt to be adequate signage that would actually draw your eye to it, you know, whether the rotating light around it or whatever it needed to be, so that people would understand there's a stop sign there. And we will revisit that then. Probably the perfect time of year to get a full summer and fall under our belt with something there.
Well, thank you for that. And then Howard and
Yeah, Charles and Hallett, when you're coming from up on the hill, south toward Hallett, there's a yield. When you're going, north toward Hallett, there's a yield. When you're going south on Charles toward Hallett, there's a stop. There's nothing, of course, you know, Hallett's the main road, there's nothing either way, so I'm wondering, what are the criteria?
I've changed numerous traffic control devices from yield to stop. We've eliminated a lot of the basic yield signs. They're part of the initial traffic control order for the city of Hillsdale was 1981. And that lists every street, every direction, every sign that's supposed to be in that block. So I'll go back and review that, and if all we do is an amendment to that, changing it from a yield sign to a stop sign. We did it most recently, I think the year before last, on River Street at Manning.
right.
And West, or at least at Manning. Because those still had yield signs, and because of the amount of cars parked north of the intersection, we wanted cars to completely stop there, because we did have one or two accidents there.
Yeah.
So that is something we've continually done. I don't travel Charles Street hardly at all anymore, so I could tell you, used to be able to tell you before I was in the position I am now, what every sign was at every intersection. But I'll take a look at that. That's, in my mind, yield signs are antiquated, especially when it comes to a major street like Hallett.
Even 2 yields, I think, would be better than a yield and a stop. It's, you know, it's a confusing construction there.
That intersection is very close to the intersection of Broad Street.
Yeah.
So I would feel more comfortable with a stop.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Sorry for springing this on you, but the other one that I had experienced twice in the last week on Waldron, in between Manning and West Street, where there's parking allowed on both sides, and you have the house that used to be the Rose Corner Inn, and the big cement wall, that's the curb that goes up a couple of feet. The last couple of weeks, I usually take that in the evenings to come home, and there's been cars on both sides, which is allowed, but there's not enough room for two-way traffic. And so,
On Waldron.
on Waldron, yes, sir, just in between Manning and, West Street there. And my thoughts there were on the south side, just to make it a no parking side, because the street narrows from east of Manning, and there's not room for 2 cars. And so yesterday, for example, I was coming in a car
There is
with,
some no parking there because when the alley was improved behind Center City, where it came out, we made a gap, I think, if I remember correctly, 50 feet on each side of the alley.
correct, on both sides of the street, there is that.
For,
Yes, sir.
mainly because of the larger vehicles, dump trucks, the snow plows, the garbage trucks, being able to turn out of that alley onto Waldron Street. We did look at that a few years ago and make some adjustments, and that was the same issues that were raised at the time.
Well, if you'd revisit that, sir, with your department, I appreciate it. Any other thing on that? Let's move on to, new business B, the camping ordinance. The ordinance was attached, we've had time to review it. Are you gentlemen in agreement with me to send that to full council for discussion?
Yes.
All right, so let's make that an official vote.
When do you wanna do that? Because we're gonna have a public hearing this coming Monday.
That's a great question.
And what was the question?
When we will send it to council, we have to send it to schedule the public hearing, then there'll be a public hearing, then there'll be a vote.
Correct.
I think we
The
can
vote could be at the public hearing,
Okay.
but there, we have
We have
to
to
send
vote.
it to council to approve the public hearing. And then if they approve the public hearing, then it'll go to that, and then that will be a day vote. And that's a great point, and I meant to bring it up. So we have quite a few things, we could put it on the agenda to send it to either, the agenda's the agenda, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean, we might, I would like to see us do it later on the 17th, and the public hearing hopefully on May 1st. Because, I mean, just one way, we move like this over in cycle.
Right, and-
So it may be a
And
little
if the
clumsy on the
meetings are,
17th.
and they're a little longer than they
Yes.
are you okay with that? So, can I just get a motion to send this to council on, for the 17th meeting?
So,
Second.
On what day?
What's that?
On what day?
Monday,
17th.
this Monday. That'll be the, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye. That'll be where council discusses whether to send it to a public hearing. The public hearing will be set at a future date, either May 1st or probably the middle of May. And then, that's really where public comment will be, the full council will be able to address public comments. Like I said, you're welcome to speak here in a moment. Josh is taking good notes, but, any other discussion on that? Greg, I just wanted you, for the public again, to just kind of give an update on the homeless task force, and I'm glad you're here, if you wouldn't mind to speak to that.
Hi, gentlemen. So, yeah, a little bit of a surprise meeting. I didn't know you guys were going today, and so I do apologize because we don't have minutes put together and submitted yet, approved and submitted yet. So I wanted to make sure that I was here to talk to you guys about how the last meeting went. Councilman Stuchel was able to come for a little bit of the meeting, so I'm sure that he can obviously give some feedback as well. But we've now met twice as the task force. The first meeting, all three of you were obviously in attendance for, and you saw how that kind of went and the information that we received. This last meeting, we actually had Penny Myers from the Warming Center who came and spoke with us about the numbers that she's seen. Basically, the reason why I asked Penny to come speak with us is because, as we learned at the first meeting, the way that the state numbers are reported is vastly different than what we may be seeing in our shelter, what we may be seeing out in our parks. So I wanted to get a little bit more of a round number as to what we're actually looking at. And she was able to talk about some of her experiences as well with running the shelter, some of the goals of the shelter, some of the positive outcomes that the shelter has had, as well as, you know, some negative instances that they've experienced there. We were very lucky to have some of the community who has been served by the shelter also speaking and talking to us about their experiences with homelessness. Some of them shared stories of what led them down this path, and very thankfully, some had some wonderful, wonderful success stories to tell us how they are working through the process, what is working for them to help motivate them to find more housing, to be able to get off the streets, to get the help that they need, supports that have worked and supports that have not so much worked. I do have some questions for you guys as we're moving forward with the task force. But I guess if you want to ask any questions first of what we learned at the meetings, and then maybe we can go from there.
Last time I spoke with Penny, she's equipped for about 30, is that right? And she gets about 12 to 18, is that still?
She said that numbers are very varying.
Okay.
As far as it goes, and I do remember that her exact limit was something that would be in our notes. Again, that'll be in the meeting minutes once we get those approved and updated.
Yeah.
So I don't want to misspeak and
Right.
throw out a number that is incorrect, but she said that numbers do vary dependent on the time of season, even down to night by night.
Okay. Yeah, when I've been over there, it seems like they have about a dozen beds available on any given night. But I'm just, if this goes through and we pass this, it would be good to know that there is some sort of short-term transitional housing. I mean, thankfully we're in the summer, so it's not gonna be quite as critical.
The problem to keep in mind with that though is the warming center closed the weekend of our last meeting.
Right. In
So
November.
there wouldn't be transitional housing for the summer months. We would be looking at that not opening again until late fall.
Do you know the event that happened on Friday at the college? Something happened, I heard about something, but I don't know much about it.
I am not sure of an event, no.
Okay.
I don't,
You're not, no, okay.
I'd be happy to do some looking into it to see what I can find out, but I haven't heard of an event found by the college.
Do you have anything scheduled for the next meeting?
For the next meeting, we will have a speaker from Lifeways coming and speaking with us about the mental health aspects of what she's seeing in that population and services that Lifeways can help us kind of bridge those gaps with. And then going over more of what, like I said, our questions for you now moving forward and what the task force has expressed to me, especially in the last 24 hours, as to what our goals need to be moving forward, so.
So I'll just add to that, I was at the meeting, I was there for a little over an hour. I thought the meeting was very well, very productive. Listening to others, there's a lot of some good success stories, people who have been in the situation, are in the situation. There's a lot of help out there. There's a lot of things that this community has to offer, which is positive. So I think my understanding of the task force is for the homeless, what they can do to help. Our task force is public safety, what we do to protect the public in general. So I think there's a distinction between our two groups.
And I would say that that probably needs some clarification, just because it was my understanding And again, I could have been completely wrong, so please, please correct me. It was my understanding that the task force was brought together to kind of look at this multidimensionally. We knew that there wasn't going to be a one-size-fits-all solution. We knew that, quite frankly, there isn't a one-size-fits-all problem here either. We know that people are experiencing homelessness. We know that some homeless individuals really need help, and we should be helping to bridge that gap between resources, because as somebody who has spent a long time working in different systems in this sort of social work realm, I can tell you that sometimes there are big gaps in those services, and even though we all try to work together, especially for somebody who is living life trying to just survive, making those leaps between different providers is difficult. But there was also the public safety aspect, and that's why it was being overseen by this committee, and looking at the possibility of things like ordinances that may come in the future, things like, you know, ways that the city can help. One good thing that I can tell you is, well, I guess first, sorry, let me finish that thought. We need to know exactly what direction we're going in, because the way that it was initially presented to me.
From yourself.
From you, what is your direction? Because the way that it was presented to me was it was a multi-dimensional look. If we are just looking at the social work aspects and how we can get people help, phenomenal. If we are including suggestions that we can make to council in regards to things like ordinances, also great. I just need to know where I am directing my team to go, because
I mean, I'm gonna
there's
speak
some
for myself,
confusion.
and please chime in, but minors, we're not part of your task force. That your task force is made up of the community from different organizations that can help, different points of view, and we're for public safety. So I know some of these people are down in the luck, but just because somebody's poor, they can't go rob a bank either.
Correct.
So we have to have laws and systems and processes in place, so we protect the public as well, and the homeless have to be protected as well. So I don't believe we're part of the task force. That's my understanding.
And to let me chime in, Stephanie, appreciate what you're doing, and
Yes.
I apologize, I should have given you some more, notice. I tried.
No,
But
Rob,
nevertheless,
I get it.
that's, what I understand from the mayor is that the task force was to do exactly what you said first, and collaborate efforts and find avenues and solutions for people that need help and are willing to engage help to do so. And if
Okay.
that includes amending city ordinances, then that's fine, you're welcome to present that.
Okay.
The reason I brought this to council this week, I've actually had this, been sitting on it for a couple of months, but I was cleaning trash in the ravine behind my house, between my house and Mrs. Stock's Park, last weekend or the weekend before, I don't remember. And there was, under one of the bridges, somebody had been living there, and it was, I have pictures, it was disgusting what was there. And then the next week, some men came, I don't remember who, and cleaned it up, but, which I'm thankful for. But the house that whoever it was, I don't know if it was a man or a woman, was living behind, you know, their carriage house behind the house has been vandalized multiple times. And, it's just not something conducive to having a park that people are gonna feel safe, you know, walking in and letting their kids run free. And it's the same with the bike trail and all the mountains of garbage. And police chief, correct me if I'm wrong, were there needles in a lot of those bags so that when the city had to pick up, as I understand it, that they wouldn't touch them, they had to use it? Is that correct?
I was not told anything about the
Oh.
needles, but, the rest is correct, that was based on just normal health and safety practice.
Okay,
So,
and maybe that was something.
I was gonna say, I do apologize. I can speak to that a little bit, because that concern was also brought to me. That yes, there have been some tremendous cleanup efforts that have been made. And that is wonderful, and that is commendable completely. But there have been instances where there have been things like needles that were put into garbage bags that obviously leaves like our DPS workers at risk. And what we can't have happening is, you know, people who are trying their best to clean things up also being injured in some way. So I do know that DPS has obtained some sharps containers for the individuals who are going around and doing the cleanups to be able to dispose of these things properly. I do know that those sharps containers, at least last I was notified, had not been picked up yet, but that way it protects DPS workers, it protects the people who are doing the cleanup,
Sure.
so.
And the reason that I brought this forward and hope that council comes into agreement is, you know, I appreciate the cleanup efforts. There are cleanup efforts that shouldn't have to happen, right? I mean, all this garbage being left shouldn't be there in the first place. And using a hypodermic needle to inject yourself with a substance that's illegal, that shouldn't be happening either. And I don't want, I don't want the trail to be a place where parents are fearful of their kids riding their bicycle because they might fall on a piece of clothing that has defecation on it, right? This has been found as well. And these are things that I'm hopeful, you know, the no camping ordinance that people will understand. You can't live on public property for free in the city of Hillsdale. And that's my position. So unless you have any other questions, I'd like to move on to public comment. Stephanie.
One thing I would like to see, sorry, one more.
Yeah, that's okay.
Penny has told me that there isn't a whole lot of coordination between her group in particular and all the other groups.
Correct.
And I don't know what you can do in particular, maybe have a task force meeting at the shelter while the shelter is up. I know that's 6 months away now, but while it's operational and, you know, work one-on-one to try to coordinate those services. But that was my vision for it.
And we just needed, like I said, we just needed to know what the vision actually is for the task force. Because quite frankly, we are getting mixed messages. And I'm sorry, to be very blunt, you all three know me. If my direction is to go out and hug trees, you know that I'm down for it. Let's go. But I need to know exactly which way that we are taking this task force so we can do the most benefit for the city. So I appreciate that.
If you want to, I mean, there've been some zoning ordinances, construction regulations, those things have been brought up. And I think we've all looked into these things privately and discussed them a little bit. But if you want to bring in an expert on that and, you know, invite us to that and maybe see what other cities are doing, that's fine by me as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Any other discussion, gentlemen? So, open for public comment. One of our members has to leave, and what, you got about 10 minutes?
Yeah.
But
They always do
he's
this.
got another prior
They
engagement.
always do this.
Um,
They gotta leave.
Hey,
About that.
Mike's work.
who did that? Thank you, whoever did that. Sorry, it's at the end of the show. But at least public comment will be nice and loud. And then, like I said, you're welcome to speak here, but it would be better served at the public hearing if it goes to that. I'm gonna set my timer for 3 minutes, if that's okay. Missy?
So I just wanted to let you know what I did today, once I found out last night what was gonna happen today. I know I can't speak for everybody. I know that there has to be a happy medium. No one wants to see the trash on the trails, no one wants to see people homeless. Obviously, y'all know you were gonna get some backlash from this because obviously it came before the help came. But as Ronald Reagan said, the most terrifying words were, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." So I don't think anybody expected city to fix the problem, but that's not what the government necessarily does or has ever done in the past. So the one thing that I have done, is that Adam Stockford made a comment a while back, and I can't remember the date that he said it was, is if y'all have a problem with the homeless, take them into your home. I have 3 in my home. I don't know what y'all have done for the homeless, but I've taken 3 in. Today I walked the trails, 6 of them will be on my property at Hillsdale Community Thrift. They already have things in motion, they just need a little bit more time. And when you wanna talk about how certain organizations don't talk to other organizations, the reason that is because everybody fights for money in this town. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, I am the only nonprofit organization that is self-sustainable. And everybody here fights for money. They're always trying to get money here, trying to get money here. I can do the most good. There are some organizations that won't work with other organizations because, well, I do that too. Well, I do that too. So there's no real answer to it other than we have to remember the facts. These people are struggling. They struggle for many reasons, not just because of addiction. I just got a phone call today from a gentleman that got housing 3 months ago, a couple months ago, and he's like, Missy, they need my paperwork and I don't even know how to go online to do it. And I'm like, okay, so what is it that you need? So I'm trying to think to myself, what organization here in Hillsdale even would do that? He needs to have his Social Security paperwork from the Social Security Administration of what he gets. So the referral or whatever it's called, regardless. There's, okay, so thank you, there you go. So the one thing that we lack in this town is obviously communication, being able to talk to each other. I have a meeting tomorrow at 1 p.m., the pallet company. I have a meeting with them and they're gonna help me get all set up on my property. So I can't wait for an answer. I'm not looking to anybody to give me an answer. Y'all know me, if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. And I don't wanna fight with you all. I don't think the city wants to fight with you all, but the one thing that I really ask and I beg and I plead of you, this is my hometown. I have nothing to do with Hillsdale College. I have no problems with Hillsdale College, but as a city, you serve the entire community, and I just wish that Hillsdale College, because I know the majority of city council is affiliated either indirectly or directly with Hillsdale College. I would love to work more with Hillsdale College. I want us to coexist together. I want us to thrive together. I want us, it is a cute town. We are a wonderful town. I'm sure I will wear my 3 minutes, I'll finish up. But if there is anything that you guys can do to get me connected more with Hillsdale College, I would be happy to, because we're all here together, we live together.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'll just speak to that real quick. There was something that happened on Friday at Christ Chapel at the college that had to do with homelessness.
Yeah, that's Joe, that's Joe right here.
It was the community
This
church
is-
project. This
Oh.
is
Yeah,
Joe.
this is Joe, he was the one that spoke.
Oh, okay, I don't know details, I just.
Oh, yeah, that's
It was
okay,
a
yeah.
good thing.
It was, yeah, it was
Yeah.
really good.
No, I'm
I
glad.
just mean more, I want
Money.
more money, more, not be nice.
I'm gonna do this and hope I don't have to take a nitro, cause it's in my purse. So, reading your, whatever this is, your ordinance, okay. Part B in section 2, or to sit or lie down on any public property or private property as to interfere with the ingress, egress from buildings, or to interfere with public's use and enjoyment of any public property or public facility. So what we got at the store today was, so we go out to Bobby's and we got our kids playing on the playground and we got an ice cream and I'm sitting on the bench. How long do I get before someone says I've sat there too long? That's not being addressed in this sentence. Number 2, under section 3, they are going to receive, no person may be arrested for violating this ordinance without having first received a verbal or written warning. Which are they getting and how? And where's the proof they got it? And then you're going to give a verbal or written referral for available services such as, and without limitation, transportation, shelter, and agency. First of all, do you know what they are? And second of all, you're gonna write a referral. We get referrals all day long for clothing, for furniture. We just housed a homeless vet. What, $600 worth of stuff out the door. It came on a referral. So when you're gonna go to those homeless and say, here's your referral, is it coming to us? What agency is it gonna go to? Mr. Stuccio, these are the things that when a common person, I don't even have a college degree, reads this, I can see that there's a gap in that. The next thing, you say the city police department may deem the personal property to be abandoned and may be confiscated. Confiscated to where? And then it says, no warning is required prior to the compensation. So now you just backtracked and said, oh, the verbal and the written referral, oh wait, now we're gonna do it without it. So, which is it? So the department shall retain the confiscated personal property in a manner consistent with the handling of other confiscated property, which is what? I mean, I know that police departments have cars for sale all over the country. You confiscate them and then you eventually sell them. So are we gonna sell those goods? So there's still lots of things that have to be answered for the common person to understand what this is gonna happen. And the people that I'm telling you that come through the store and desperately need help don't need a written referral to an agency. They've had them. You're not helping by giving a written referral. They need more than that. And the gaps, and no one's gonna like to hear this, but the gaps in the agencies is they're overworked. It's nothing for a Lifeways client, case management to have 1,000 clients. And I'm dealing with one case management for 2 of my people that I'm helping. I'm not even a case manager. Like, I hang clothes on a pole, but they come in there and they need help. They look at us like, we need help. That's what our thrift store is doing, but we're not even an agency. So when you're coming up with this at full council, think about those answers, because they're gonna wanna know where their stuff is. So, that's it.
Hi, I'm Joe. I'm retired. I've been here a couple of times before. I'm retired military and also retired DOJ. I lucky retired young. I saw this and I sent it to a buddy of mine that's still in the DOJ. And he says, it's well written. Good job. But he also said, I told him a little bit about what I'm seeing here with the homeless task force and with the city. And he goes, they're telling them they're putting the cart before the horse. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, there's case law out there. And he gave me one, and I'm gonna read it to you so you can have it for record. And I'll probably come to the next meeting too, so it's on record. But there are federal case law right now about this. And what the federal judge said was this. And let me just read it real quick, not the whole thing, I'm just gonna read the case law. It's United States Bell versus Boise. It's August 6, 2015. The case number is 109CV00540, ECF number 276. What the federal judge said was Boise had the right to put a ordinance in place for camping, no camping, because there's the same situations here. However, if there's no shelters in place, they cannot do that because then it goes against the 8th Amendment for that homeless person, because everybody has the right to the 8th Amendment. My buddy told me to tell you guys this. Work with these guys. Work together. Don't put the cart before the horse, because you might end up fighting the city of Hillsdale in a federal lawsuit, and you won't win because there's case law out there already. What they're saying is there gotta be a shelter in place. Yeah, there's one here 6 months out of the year, 5 months out of the year, but it has to be a shelter in place, or else you guys are gonna get caught up in an 8th Amendment right. And I don't think City of Hillsdale wants a big lawsuit. But I do believe in safety. My wife works out here at the dental clinic, and she said she had a patient in her chair, and she looks out the window, and there's a guy out there behind Kroger's, a guy taking a dump right there in front of her office window with a patient in the chair. There's trash out there every morning, those ladies pick it up because the homeless people leave it there. I've heard stories over here at this park where there's kids playing and there's needles on the ground. So I believe in public safety. But I believe there can be common ground, you guys can figure it out together. But don't put the cart before the horse. I'm saying that you guys are gonna set yourself up. Work with these guys, get a shelter in place. City don't have to pay for it, work with these private organizations, find a way to figure it out. That's all I gotta say. Just wanna put that in there.
Thank you.
My name is Carrie. I've lived in this county majority of my life. I'm a graduate of Hillsdale College. I love this town. I love the people here. And I just found last Thursday while I was talking about Medicare in town, I met Joe, and he explained the homeless population that was right here in our town that I didn't know anything about. So Saturday I went out there and I fed them and I talked to them and I asked them, what do you need? Do you need socks? I hear people saying the homeless people need socks, they need clothes and tents and sleeping bags. And I said, no, that's not what we need. We need housing that we can afford. We want to be able to work and we want to be able to have our own four walls that are safe for us to live and store things. And when people just give them the stuff and then they get chased out, they have nowhere to take the stuff and it gets left and it's a mess. And while I was there, they were picking up garbage. They had been around all over town with garbage bags picking it up, and they were talking amongst themselves that their window wells filled up with garbage that they were planning on going and picking up before it rained, because then it's harder to get it after there's rain in those well waters, or those window wells as well. What they need is housing. I haven't slept since Saturday hardly because I've been researching. It's one of the things that Hillsdale College taught me to do well, is to research. And there are towns in the state of Washington that are doing new and wonderful things with their homeless population to get them up on their feet and going and giving them agency by allowing them to pay a minimum amount. And some of that money gets returned to them when they do move out. So it's not a permanent housing situation, but they need that address. They need support while they're there so that they can apply for jobs. They can have somebody help them get their birth certificates back and their IDs back and teach them how to write resumes if they don't know how to do that. The last year and a half, I had a kid living with me that was living in his car. My son brought him home November of 21 and said, this is David, he's been living in his car, his dad does drugs, his mom moved away because of some guy, and it's getting cold. What are we gonna do? So he graduated from high school in May of 22 and just yesterday moved out, and he's going to college and has saved up enough money so that he can only work part-time while he's going to school, and I'm so stinking proud of him. And that's what they need. That's what these people need. They don't need people chasing them away. They need people to say, this is a safe place for you to stay for a while. Get your feet under you and we'll walk alongside you. That's it.
Mr. Stuchel, if you'll stay for part of my public comment, I realize that you have an obligation, but it seems we always have obligations. I have been a nurse for 35 years, and I hold the highest degree that a nurse can hold. That's a doctoral degree in nursing practice. And I'm concerned that you might have dementia, and so I think that you should seek medical counsel. On December 5th, you said we will collect the data, analyze, set an action plan, take action, reevaluate. We will create 2 parallel groups. Those parallel groups would be the 3 of you who would investigate hospital, prosecutor, and CPD data. A second group would be created of support agencies and would receive direction from this. The fact that Mr. Stuchel sat there and said, we can tell you what to do, and Joshy sat there and said, oh, well, you could recommend all the things you want, but we don't have anything to do with that. You're either all really good liars, you're horrible at sticking to a plan, or, like, I really think he might have dementia after that comment, but anyways, all of that was bullshit, and you all know it. At any rate, I wanna talk about this comment, a lot of resources in the community. I'm gonna tell you 3 reasons why people don't access those resources. A, you sit in a seat of privilege that you know now that some of those resources exist. You didn't before this, you've all admitted that. People who need the services may not know they exist. If they know of them, they might have barriers to accessing them. How do I go there? What do I do? Do I have a car to get there? Do I have taxi money? Is there public transportation here in the city? The third barrier it might be is they've been so treated poorly in those organizations. They do know they exist. They do know how to access them. They have accessed them, and they've been further marginalized and treated like shit from people like y'all, right? So they want to access them again. So don't tell me how many resources are here and people should just pull themselves up, because that bootstrap theory was bullshit when it was created, and it's still bullshit today, right? So this criminalization, we've talked about this. If you didn't want to follow the get the data, analyze actually all of the stuff that you said in December, right? Then you should have just come out with this, because we said you're criminalizing poverty, you're criminalizing homelessness, and now you've just done exactly what we said. So you waste a lot of time. December 5th, first meeting, December 14th, the first social service meeting, March 29th, second social service meeting, and here we are, April 11th. We might want to talk about the 4th Amendment when we talk about the 8th. I don't know where you want, but illegal search and seizure, it's in the 4th Amendment. And I can't wait to build enough funds to provide legal fees to everyone that your little policy takes stuff from. Because not only are you gonna take their socks, you're gonna take their medicine, and then they're gonna end up in your ER that you were so concerned that they might be abusing those resources. You have no idea, because you're too damn ignorant to want to learn and open your minds. You got an assignment due at the end of the semester, you've gotta do this before graduation, and you just can't hold tight for a minute.
Thank you for your time.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bust past you two.
No, you're fine.
Ted Jansen, a couple of questions if you answer. Did you talk to Chief Hebner about this at all? His impressions, the difficulty of enforcement, the cost of the law enforcement officers making the arrest? Because you said, I'm not gonna spend one damn dollar on these homeless people. Well, it's gonna cost the department a heck of a lot of money to enforce this. Did you get any feedback from him? Did you ask the city attorney his impression of this ordinance? And how many constitutional amendments it violates? I mean, you, Josh, Hillsdale College, you guys support the Constitution, but only when it's very applicable to what you want. The gentleman here, Joe, was right. He cited Bell versus Boise. That's a follow-up case to Martin versus Boise, and caused Boise, Idaho, $435,000 for plaintiff fee, attorney fees, not to mention their own fees. But you're getting yourself into the quagmire. You have Stephanie here, her group, hey, let's do something. Yet this ordinance, you're gonna drive all the homeless out of Hillsdale. So what's the good is her group? Her people are gone. The clients are gone. It's just pure nonsense. Pure nonsense. And in here it says, unsanitary conditions because, lack of facilities. Well, I assume you're talking about defecating in public. Stocks Park has porta johns. So does Owens Park. That would take care of that provision of unsanitary conditions. Therefore, according to your definitions, camping is allowed. Because they're not creating unsanitary conditions, are they? Just that, it's unsightly. You don't want to be reminded there are people who are not as fortunate, affluent as you are. So let's just close our eyes, push them out of town, out of sight, out of mind. That's the way we do things around here. So I firmly suggest that you, before you present this to council, get legal opinions on it, because otherwise you're going to get a heck of a lot of federal lawsuits. First thing they're going to do, federal judge is going to just stop you. That's it. And talk to the chief. Geez, I don't know why you haven't. Have you? No answer. Thank you for your cooperation.
Hi, Jose Arevalo. I want to speak in support of this. I know that we don't have time, or that this isn't necessarily the appropriate time to do that. It's going to go to full council. This might be a better occasion, but I think it's good to get this on record. I mean, vagrancy is obviously a problem here. I run in the mornings down the Bobbies, and I frequently see homeless people camping alongside the trail, sleeping on the benches there. My wife often runs there. It is clearly a danger. You know, these are people who have needs, and they could do something untoward or desperate. And so I think that giving the police the ability to enforce some sort of city ordinance in order to remove that danger is important. I mean, the duty of the city is to protect before going for any sort of charitable work. And so, I think that something like this, maybe not in the exact words that you're putting forward, but I think something like this is important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Josie. Just about 3 months ago, I started helping a homeless gentleman to get around. And I just want to point out a couple of things. One, not all of your homeless are drug addicts or have drug problems. If you think getting rid of the homeless is going to get rid of your drug problem, you are sadly mistaken. You are going to still find needles in your parks. You're going to still find trash along the Bobbies Trail. You are blaming the homeless for this. And I'm not saying that some of them that are not at fault, but that is not your problem. The homeless need help. The homeless that are on drugs need more help. The amount of drug use in this county is off the charts and is not even a percentage of your percentage, it has anything to do with the homeless. And when you say that you are here for public safety, they are a part of your public safety. They matter. You are here to serve them as well. Not just people that have money. You know, Mr. Stutchell, he made a comment. He literally referenced the homeless to, just because you're poor and hit up hard doesn't mean you can rob a bank. You know, I know personally the gentleman that robbed Old Kent Bank. I was like 7 years old. I know him today. He has a job, he has a house, he has a car, he's very well to do. The homeless that I'm helping had some mental problems, wasn't able to keep their job, started having seizures, lost their job, lost their apartment, and was evicted. Never does drugs, never did drugs. Has been trying desperately to get back on their feet. Looking for work, can't drive a car. If you kick them out of the city, they don't have transportation, they can't walk. Hiding, turning a blind eye to the problem is just lazy. They need our help, not our judgments. And just as a suggestion to help with cleaning up the bike paths and so forth, maybe we should put some trash cans out there. That would be great. We have people that would probably throw away their stuff while they're running. Whoever's jogging can throw their bottle of water away. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more public comment? Want to close the podium?
Jack's coming.
Forgot you were over there, Jack.
I did like your comment about speaking up. You couldn't hear half of what you guys were saying. I don't know if you wasn't using your mics or what, but you can't hear sitting in here. Part of that's my age, I'm not gonna say it's not,
They weren't on, sir.
but when people talk like this to their constituents, it's hard to hear rather than speaking into the mic. Okay, I'm gonna change stations here a little bit. Parking safety. Handicap, get out of their car here to City Hall, have to get into traffic to get up on the sidewalk. That's a parking hazard. If you go from this corner out into traffic with the pickups and cars parked there, and I'm not just saying for the city manager, because over the weekend, people park there, and you cannot get out if you're going across until you're out in the first lane of traffic. You can't see if cars are coming straight and changing lanes. Union Street, Manning Street, Bacon Street, people parking on the wrong side of the road. I don't know why, I guess it's easier than whipping a U-turn, I guess, but they do, they park on the wrong side of the street. My personal feeling is, I don't think this building is handicap accessible for someone in a wheelchair. By the time you get out on the sidewalk, go up to the point, come back down the other side, where you can get up to the doors, then you can't open the doors. I don't understand why the city hasn't got automatic doors there. There's no way of getting in this building for a handicapped person that's in a wheelchair that I can see. I think that's something that really needs to be addressed. You guys are public safety, I mean, that's, so, parking on, up here in front of Moore's and stuff, I think it would be better if it was parallel parking. People back out and can't see if there's anyone going up the hill, which is definitely a hazard as far as, if they were parallel parked, they could use their right-hand mirror, see if anyone's coming. You can't see anybody. I was at the zoning, not at the zoning, I was at the county building inspector. Third stories with residents have to have fire suppression in them. So with all the new owners and all the third story apartments, and seeing as how we have no fire escapes anymore, the only building with a fire escape is the Mason building. I think it's the Masons or whatever it is on the corner. We have no fire escapes. These buildings do not have egress windows in them. Where's the safety here? When you do a safety check, I mean, it's not there. I talked this all to the planning commission, and of course they dumped it on the safety committee, because they said they don't do ordinances or anything like that, or enforce any of that, which I know is not true. They do adapt the, is it the IPMC codes or something, I can't tell you for sure. And a lot of that codes and their inspection sheets cover stuff like that, but they don't enforce it. And I'm not blaming the chief here, but when they do an inspection of a building, which is supposed to be done every time a tenant changes, not every 2 years or anything. So when this store changed hands over here, it should have had a new inspection. Same way with where the Hope House was. I know I'm getting close to time, but it should have had a new inspection done. If it didn't pass when Lance owned it, how does it pass now? I mean, there's some of the safety stuff, and I'm talking safety stuff, that really needs to be looked at through ordinances or the zoning enforcement or whatever. I mean, in order to have a residence in an apartment, you have to have 2 fire alarms, one in the bedroom and one right outside in the hallway. I don't see these buildings having that, and the reports don't say they do.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Sorry, I went over.
I'm sorry. Chief, did you want to say something? I'll wait. Thank you.
How you guys doing?
Yeah.
My name is Joseph Gardella. I was recently homeless. I actually technically am homeless, but Missy took me in. But I just wanted to speak on behalf of the homeless. For 18 years, I struggled with addiction, and a lot of people just make comments towards you, and with words are powerful. So when somebody tells you that you're no good, you start to believe those things. It was actually at the warming center where my life actually changed. There was people there that believed in me. And ever since then, I've just been striving. I got 2 jobs. I'm the one that picks up the trash. There's quite a few of us that do it. But I just wanted to say that when it comes to homeless, a lot of them, they want to succeed. They don't want this life. But what happens is when you're out there in the streets, you go back to what you know. You know what I mean? Like, there's one time that I got out of jail, I had nowhere to go, and so the only house light that was on was a user's house, and I was cold, so I went there, and that just led me to using. So a lot of these homeless, they really just need opportunity, you know what I mean? They just need a shelter, somewhere to go. A few of them were clean for a while, and then the shelter closed, and they ended up, going back to using, but they really tried. So I just wanted to say that there is people out there that wants to do better. So if you guys could just please look into that, some help, that would be great. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. I was playing football too.
I was playing football.
Okay, seeing no further public comment.
If I might, Rob,
Yeah. Chief.
I just as soon clarify a couple things right when they're said, so people fill in the blanks on their own. Yes, this building does not have automatic handicap accessible doors. There is a call button out there, a box push button. We go out and assist anybody that needs to come in the building. That this issue has come up before, but we always help whoever needs to get in the building or whatever they need help done. As a matter of fact, just yesterday, we actually went outside the building, helped somebody get their license tabs on their vehicle because they were handicapped and they asked for help. So there is a strategy for accommodation to the building. And it is handicap accessible once you're inside the building. The elevator, the bathrooms have all been equipped to meet that standard. Secondly, the fire department does the inspections based on criteria established through the zoning and assessing department. As needed, then it moves to the fire department for them to do the inspection. They are extremely well versed on the international property maintenance code that the city has adopted and the fire code that is used, and with the county whenever we need to bring them in or communicate with them. So there's no deviation in how inspections are done, and everything that the city requires based on those codes is what is checked for.
Thank you, Chief. Did you want to have any comment, John? I just want to say thanks for being here. Thank you for all your comments. I personally would appreciate it if you weren't so condescending towards us. That's unnecessary, and it.
You get what you give, and my free speech will let me make
you're-
any
ma'am?
comment I want in my 3 minutes.
Let's
we're
keep
done.
this at a public meeting, there's rules.
Decorum, yep, I know.
That was unnecessary. Chief, would you please escort her out if she speaks again? I would appreciate that, or get an officer.
I'll take care of the public meeting issues.
Thank you, sir. It's really, really shameful. Ted, you do this regularly. To come up here and do the very things that you accuse us of doing. It's unfortunate, it's not helpful. What Joe said, I really appreciate. I want to see men get back on their feet. I also want to see people being able to enjoy the parks without having to encounter a needle, a stray needle, or a man sleeping under a park bench, right? And somebody said we represent the homeless. I mean, I don't know. Do they have an address in the city, right? And then that's a conflated issue. So maybe we do, maybe we don't, I don't know, I'll have to think about that. Nevertheless, it's not that I don't want anybody to go to jail. I don't want anybody to suffer the ill effects of life's consequences giving them a bad shake. For this gentleman, for example, having nowhere to go and going into a dope house, I can't imagine that, and I'm sorry that happened to you. But God bless you for being able to overcome it. That's an amazing triumph. My position is, from the city's perspective, is people camping on a city trail or under a bridge in a park is perceived as dangerous, as the gentleman who came and spoke said. All right, and that's been said in other ways by other people in the past. And it's unfair to just laud and applaud and fight for the rights of homeless people and not fight for the rights of the people who are paying the property taxes in the city, because they have rights too. And I've said this before. And on top of that, when you come and attack our character, you're speaking out of ignorance. Ted, you don't even obey the city ordinances, so I don't understand why you try to enforce them yourself. So, I mean, things like that are just frustrating to me. If you have difficulty with the policy, there were some very, I think, productive things mentioned here, and I'll revisit Penny's recording, and I appreciate you doing that, Penny. But when you come, I would appreciate you stopping the personal attacks. I mean, if you attack me, that's fine. But on my peers here, it's just unnecessary. And it's degrading to you and to us. And we are doing our best as we see fit to serve the city. And it's an elected position. I'm up for re-election in 2024. If I run again, you're welcome to bring somebody against me who you think could serve the city better. I'm not serving because I think this is a powerful thing where I get to flex my muscle. I'm serving because I love Hillsdale. And no, I wasn't born here, I adopted the city, and the city's welcomed me wonderfully. But that's what we're trying to do up here, is serve the city well. And the condescension, Joe, is just, it gets, it's insufferable, you know. We've never personally attacked a homeless person, verbally or physically, at least I haven't. As a matter of fact, I've hired some to work for me and try to get to know them a little bit. And then they post something about my daughter on social media. How am I supposed to take that, right? So we don't hate the homeless, we don't want them to go to jail, but at the same time, I don't want them camping on the Bobby's Trail. I don't want them camping under a bridge at Mrs. Stocks Park, all right? So from a legislative point, I'm gonna try to address that. And from a philanthropic point, I appreciate what Stephanie's trying to do. And don't yell at me, and don't yell at council, and don't yell at the city. Get these organizations together to go out as an army, like, I don't remember your name, but you going and welcoming these people and helping them and learning to get to know them and what Missy does. Those are tremendous things. And Joe, picking up the trash, I appreciate that. And it's necessary. It shouldn't be the responsibility of civic government to do these things. It should be yours. And don't get mad at us because we're just trying to keep the city safe as best we see fit. Get together and do the work. And if I'm able, I will join. I've already tried it. I've got a full-time job. I've got kids. I've got other responsibilities. I just don't
physically have the time, not that I don't want to, I've tried. So, again, I just implore you, if you have problems with what we're presenting here, please speak against that. But hold your tongue when you're attacking our character, because that is unnecessary, and it really just shows yours. And with that, I'm gonna close the meeting.